Did you know that stepping out your back door and simply walking among your plants could be the most powerful medicine you take all day? Welcome to a journey into the hidden world right outside your window. Today we are exploring the profound and surprising benefits of taking a mindful walk in your garden. I promise you, by the end of this video, you will never look at your lawn, your flower beds, or even those stubborn weeds the same way again. Here is a wild thought to get us started. What if your garden is not just a piece of property that requires your hard work and maintenance, but a highly intelligent ecosystem that is actively trying to heal you? Most people think a garden is just a place to grow tomatoes or keep the grass short. But that is a massive misconception. We are going to reveal the absolute truth about what happens to your brain and your body when you just take a few minutes to stroll through the greenery. Do you think a garden is just silent plants waiting for water? Let me know in the comments if you have ever felt a sudden sense of peace just by looking at a tree, because we are about to explain exactly why that happens. To truly understand the power of a garden walk, we need to look back at how our ancestors interacted with nature. For thousands of years, humans did not separate themselves from the natural world. Ancient cultures, from the intricate paradise gardens of Persia to the Zen rock gardens of Japan, understood that enclosed green spaces were essential for spiritual and mental well-being. They built these spaces not just for food, but for contemplation, rest, and restoring the soul. However, in our modern, fast-paced world, we have somehow lost this connection. We have turned our yards into outdoor living rooms or chores that need to be managed on the weekends. The concept of the effortless garden observation has been replaced by the stress of perfect landscaping. But science is finally catching up with ancient wisdom. Researchers are now discovering that our bodies are hardwired to respond positively to natural environments. The colors, the smells, and the sounds of a garden trigger ancient biological responses that instantly lower our stress hormones. So let us leave the modern stress behind and step into the green oasis. Let us step outside for a moment and really feel the transition. You open your back door, step off the porch, and immediately everything changes around you. The air feels completely different against your skin. The mechanical sounds of the house fade away, replaced by the subtle, organic rustle of leaves in the wind. Have you ever noticed how just crossing that physical threshold shifts your entire mood? It is definitely not just your imagination playing tricks on you. When you take a mindful walk in your garden, you are stepping into a complex, living ecosystem that immediately begins to interact with your biology. Most people view their garden as a massive to-do list. They see weeds to pull, grass to mow, and flowers to water. But today, we are going to look at it completely differently. We are practicing the art of effortless garden observation. This is about being present, not about fulfilling an obligation. By simply walking through this space, you are activating ancient neurological pathways designed to recognize safety and natural abundance. Imagine looking at a blooming rose bush, not as a chore that needs pruning, but as a masterpiece of nature unfolding right in front of you. This subtle shift in perspective is the very first step to unlocking the true therapeutic power of your backyard. It turns a simple piece of land into a personal sanctuary where your mind can truly rest. Now, let us talk about the ground beneath your feet, because it holds a spectacular secret. There is a very specific reason why just being near the soil makes you feel so remarkably good. It is all about a microscopic superhero living in the dirt, called Mycobacterium vaccae. This is a natural, harmless bacteria found in healthy soil all over the world. When you walk through your garden, especially if you brush against plants or kick up a little dust, you are actually inhaling tiny amounts of this bacteria. And here is the amazing part. Scientists have discovered that this soil bacteria acts on your brain in a way that is incredibly similar to antidepressant medications. It stimulates your brain to produce serotonin, which is the chemical that makes you feel happy, relaxed, and at peace. So, the old myth that getting dirty is bad for you is completely wrong. A clean, sterile environment might actually be starving your brain of the natural chemical boosts it evolved to receive from the earth. Think about children playing in the mud and how joyful they usually are. As adults taking a garden walk, we are tapping into that exact same biological joy. Just breathing the air directly above your garden beds is literally changing your brain chemistry for the better. As you continue your walk, take a moment to look at the trees and larger shrubs around the edges of your yard. We often think of plants as lonely individuals, just standing there in silence. But that is a huge myth that science has completely busted in recent years. Beneath the surface of the soil, there is an incredibly vast, buzzing communication network. It is often called the Wood Wide Web. Fungi in the soil connect the roots of different plants together, creating a massive biological internet. Through this hidden network, plants are constantly talking to each other. They share nutrients, send warning signals about invading insects, and even support the weaker, younger plants in the garden. When you walk across your lawn, you are strolling over millions of miles of microscopic fungal threads that are pulsing with life and information. Realizing this changes the entire feeling of your garden walk. You are no longer just walking past objects. You are walking through a highly intelligent, cooperative community. It brings a profound sense of awe to realize that the oak tree in the corner is actively communicating with the flowers at its base. This interconnectedness reminds us that we are also part of a much larger living system, which is incredibly comforting for a stressed mind. Have you ever wondered why looking at the shape of a fern or the petals of a flower instantly relaxes your eyes? There is a fascinating scientific reason for this, called fractal fluency. In nature, shapes often repeat themselves in patterns called fractals. You can see this in the way a tree branch splits, the spiral of a pine cone, or the veins on a single green leaf. Our modern world is full of harsh, straight lines, sharp corners, and flat screens. Human brains actually have to work quite hard to process these unnatural, artificial shapes. But our brains evolved over millions of years looking at the natural, fractal patterns of the wild. When you take a walk in your garden and look at these natural shapes, your brain essentially takes a deep sigh of relief. Processing these fractal patterns requires almost zero effort from your visual system. It is like a massage for your optic nerve. This effortless processing quickly lowers your physical stress levels. So, when you pause your walk to just stare deeply into the center of a sunflower or trace the outline of a hosta leaf, you are not wasting time. You are giving your brain a highly effective, scientifically proven rest from the exhausting visual demands of modern life. Let us take a deep breath in through the nose. What do you smell? Maybe it is damp earth, the sharp scent of pine, or the sweet perfume of a blooming lilac. The aromas in your garden are doing much more than just pleasing your sense of smell. Plants release invisible essential oils into the air, called phytoncides. These are natural chemicals that plants use to protect themselves from harmful insects and diseases. But when humans breathe in these phytoncides during a simple walk in the garden, something magical happens in our bodies. Studies have shown that inhaling these plant chemicals significantly boosts our immune system. They actually increase the number and activity of white blood cells in our bodies, which are the cells that fight off viruses and keep us healthy. The Japanese have known this for decades, calling it forest bathing. But you do not need to travel to a deep, dark forest to get this benefit. The trees, shrubs, and aromatic herbs in your own backyard are actively pumping out these health-boosting chemicals right now. So the next time you brush past a lavender plant or walk under a cedar tree, take a massive, deep breath. You are literally inhaling natural medicine that strengthens your immune system with every single step you take. If you are feeling brave during your garden walk, I highly recommend you try taking off your shoes and socks. Walking barefoot on the grass or soil is a practice known as grounding or earthing. Now, this might sound a little bit like magic, but it is actually based on physics. The Earth has a mild, natural negative electrical charge. Our bodies, because of modern technology, stress, and artificial environments, tend to build up a positive charge, which is associated with inflammation and tension in the muscles. When you allow your bare skin to touch the Earth, you absorb millions of free electrons from the ground. This helps to neutralize the electrical charge in your body. People who practice grounding daily report better sleep, reduced chronic pain, and a massive drop in their anxiety levels. Think of your body as a battery that needs to be plugged into the earth to recharge correctly. A garden walk with bare feet is the ultimate way to reset your internal electricity. Even if you just do it for 5 minutes on a patch of soft lawn, the physical sensation of the cool grass against the soles of your feet brings you instantly into the present moment, completely stopping any racing, anxious thoughts in your head. Let us address a very common source of stress for many homeowners, and that is the myth of the perfect lawn. During your garden walk, you might spot a dandelion or a patch of clover popping up in your otherwise green grass. Your first instinct might be frustration. You might think you need to run and grab the weed killer immediately. But let us reframe this entirely. A perfectly manicured, chemical-filled lawn is actually a biological desert. It offers almost nothing to the local ecosystem. When you see a dandelion, try to view it as a vital oasis for early spring bees who are desperately searching for food. Those little wild patches in your garden are signs of a healthy, robust ecosystem trying to establish itself. Part of a healing garden walk is learning to let go of the illusion of total control. Nature loves diversity, and when you start to appreciate the spontaneous plants that choose to grow in your yard, your daily walk becomes a treasure hunt instead of an inspection tour. You begin to see the beauty in the untamed edges. Giving up the fight for a golf course lawn relieves a massive amount of mental pressure. You can finally just enjoy the garden as a living partner, rather than a disobedient child that needs constant disciplining. If you walk in your garden early in the morning or late in the afternoon, you have a front row seat to one of the most fascinating shows on earth. I am talking about the daily routines of the pollinators. If you look closely inside the blossoms of squash plants or large bell-shaped flowers, you might actually find bumblebees sleeping inside. They curl up in the petals as the air cools down at night. Watching a bee wake up, warm its wings in the morning sun, and begin its vital work is an incredibly humbling experience. During your garden walk, observing these tiny creatures goes a long way toward shifting your perspective. It pulls you out of your own human-sized problems and reminds you of the intricate, delicate balance of life that sustains the whole planet. These insects are completely focused on their tasks, entirely unbothered by the news, the economy, or your email inbox. Watching them creates a profound sense of mindfulness. You cannot rush the observation of a butterfly landing on a flower. It demands your patience and your full attention. This slow, deliberate focus acts as a powerful meditation, effortlessly bringing your heart rate down and clearing your mind of daily clutter. Close your eyes for just 10 seconds as you stand in the middle of your garden. Pay close attention to the auditory landscape around you. Sound plays a massive role in how our environment affects our mood. In the house, we hear the hum of the refrigerator, the buzz of electronics, or the noise of traffic through the walls. These sounds constantly keep our nervous system slightly on edge. But the garden offers a completely different soundtrack. You hear the wind rustling through the leaves, the rhythmic chirping of crickets, or the melodic singing of local birds. These natural sounds act as an acoustic blanket that soothes the primal parts of our brain. Researchers have found that listening to birdsong specifically helps humans feel safe because in the wild, birds only sing when there are no immediate predators around. Their song is a universal signal that all is well. So, when you take your garden walk and actively listen to the birds, your brain subconsciously registers that you are in a safe zone. This allows your defensive walls to drop completely. The garden becomes an acoustic refuge where the noise of the modern world is beautifully drowned out by the timeless music of nature. Have you ever brushed past a tomato plant and been instantly transported back to your grandmother's house when you were a child? Scent is the most powerful trigger for memory that we possess. The olfactory bulb in our brain is directly connected to the regions that process emotion and memory. This makes a garden walk an incredibly emotional journey. The sharp, clean scent of mint, the earthy aroma of wet soil after a rain, or the delicate sweetness of a climbing rose can instantly evoke deeply buried, joyful memories. You can actually design your daily walk to maximize this effect. Plant aromatic herbs like rosemary, thyme, and lemon balm right along the pathways where you step. As you walk, gently run your hands over the leaves and bring your fingers to your nose. This intentional engagement with scent forces you to pause and experience the exact moment you are in. It is a fantastic grounding technique for anyone dealing with high levels of anxiety. When your mind is spiraling into worries about the future, the strong scent of a crushed basil leaf brings you rushing right back to the present second. It is a simple, accessible tool for emotional regulation growing right in your backyard. One of the greatest joys of taking a daily garden walk is witnessing the concept of micro-seasons. We usually think of the year in 4 big chunks: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. But when you walk the exact same path every single day, you start to notice that the garden changes every 24 hours. A bud that was tightly closed on Monday might be fully open by Wednesday. A patch of ground that was bare in the morning might be covered in tiny, sprouting seedlings after a heavy afternoon rain. This daily observation teaches us a profound lesson about patience and the natural rhythm of life. It reminds us that growth is often slow, incremental, and invisible from day to day, but monumental over time. By noticing these tiny changes, you become a witness to the subtle unfolding of the year. This practice of close observation creates a deep, personal bond between you and your green space. It is no longer just a yard. It is a dynamic, ever-changing story that you are reading, one page at a time. This daily engagement prevents the garden from becoming boring background scenery and keeps your mind curious and engaged with the living world. Do not limit your garden walks only to the daylight hours. A nighttime stroll through your backyard offers an entirely different, almost magical experience. As the sun goes down, the visual distractions of the day fade away, and your other senses become highly heightened. The air usually cools down, carrying scents much further. Some plants, like evening primrose or moonflowers, only open their petals at night, releasing intoxicating perfumes specifically designed to attract nocturnal pollinators like moths. The colors of the garden change dramatically, with white flowers glowing beautifully under the moonlight. The soundscape shifts from singing birds to the rhythmic calls of frogs and crickets. A night walk in the garden is incredibly peaceful and private. It feels like you are being let in on a wonderful secret that the rest of the sleeping world knows nothing about. It is the perfect time to shake off the heavy burdens of a stressful workday before heading to bed. The soft, silvery light of the moon and the cool night breeze help lower your core body temperature and prepare your mind for deep, restorative sleep. It is a completely effortless way to cure evening restlessness. Here is a crucial rule for unlocking the healing power of the garden walk. You must leave your tools in the shed. I call this practicing the art of doing nothing. When you step into the garden with pruning shears in your hand or a plan to pull weeds, your brain stays in task mode. You are looking for problems to solve and things to fix. This is exactly the mindset we are trying to escape. For your walk to be truly therapeutic, you must go out empty-handed. Your only job is to observe. If you see a branch that needs cutting or a weed that needs pulling, simply acknowledge it and let it be for now. Tell yourself that this specific time is reserved only for being, not for doing. This is incredibly difficult for highly productive people, but it is an essential boundary to set. By consciously choosing not to work in the garden, you reclaim the space as a place of leisure and mental rest. You grant yourself permission to just exist in the beauty of the plants without having to earn your right to be there through hard labor. Dropping the trowel is the most important step in turning a gardening chore into a healing ritual. If you can manage to get out into your garden just after sunrise, you will encounter the magic of morning dew. Those tiny drops of water clinging to the grass blades and spider webs are not just beautiful, they physically change the quality of the air you breathe. When water evaporates, especially in the cool morning air, it creates negative ions. Now, despite the word negative, these ions are incredibly positive for human health. High concentrations of negative ions are found near waterfalls, ocean waves, and in a dew-covered morning garden. When we inhale them, they increase the flow of oxygen to our brain, resulting in higher alertness, decreased drowsiness, and more mental energy. They also help clear the air of dust and allergens. Walking through a dewy garden is like taking a shower for your lungs. The crisp, clean quality of the morning air invigorates your entire system. It sets a calm, focused, and positive tone for the rest of your day. So, before you grab your phone, or even your first cup of coffee, try grabbing a jacket and walking out into the damp, glowing morning light. It is a natural energy drink for your mind and body. A garden walk becomes even more engaging when you turn it into a tiny foraging expedition. If you have edible plants in your yard, make it a habit to taste something directly from the plant as you walk. Plucking a sun-warmed cherry tomato and eating it right there, or snapping off a crisp pod of peas, is a remarkably grounding experience. When you eat a piece of food mere seconds after it was disconnected from the earth, you are getting the absolute maximum amount of nutrients and vital energy it has to offer. The flavor is intense, complex, and deeply satisfying. This simple act connects you directly to the cycle of nourishment. It reminds you that the earth provides for us. Grazing in your garden turns your walk into a multi-sensory experience that includes taste, which is a powerful way to bring your mind into sharp focus. Even if you only have a few pots of herbs on a patio, pinching off a leaf of sweet basil or fresh mint and chewing it releases a burst of flavor that instantly wakes up your senses. It is a delightful, playful way to interact with your environment. As the seasons change, especially as we move from the lushness of summer into the crispness of autumn, the garden walk teaches us a beautiful lesson about letting go. We are so conditioned by society to constantly seek growth, expansion, and eternal youth. But nature does not work that way. Nature understands that rest, decay, and retreat are absolute necessities for future life. When you walk through your garden in the fall and see the leaves turning brown, the flowers fading, and the plants dying back into the soil, try not to see it as a failure. It is not sad. It is a vital, necessary withdrawal of energy. The plants are pulling their resources down into their roots to survive the cold winter. Observing this cycle can be deeply comforting for humans. It gives us permission to embrace our own seasons of low energy and rest. It reminds us that we do not have to be blooming all the time. Sometimes it is perfectly okay to pull back, shed what we no longer need, and simply rest. The autumn garden walk is a powerful visual metaphor for the beauty of gracefully letting go of the things that have run their course. Let us focus on the architectural power of light and shadow during your walk. As you stroll through your garden at different times of the day, pay attention to how the light paints the space. During the golden hour, which is the time just after sunrise or just before sunset, the light hits the garden at a low angle. This creates long, dramatic shadows and highlights the textures of tree bark and ornamental grasses. The garden literally glows. This soft, warm light is universally flattering and incredibly soothing to human eyes. It tells our ancient brain that the day is either gently beginning or safely ending. On a cloudy, overcast day, the light becomes perfectly diffused, saturating the greens and making the colors of your flowers pop with incredible intensity. By focusing your attention on the quality of the light, you train your brain to notice the subtle nuances of your environment. This practice of aesthetic appreciation is highly therapeutic. It elevates a simple backyard into a constantly changing art gallery. You are no longer just looking at plants. You are observing the interplay of light and form, which sparks creativity and deepens your appreciation for the present moment. If you have any kind of water feature in your garden, even just a small bird bath or a tiny bubbling fountain, make sure your walk takes you right past it. Water is a hypnotic element that commands human attention. The sound of trickling water is universally recognized as one of the most relaxing sounds on earth. It masks the harsh noises of the neighborhood and creates a secluded, peaceful atmosphere. But beyond the sound, just looking at the surface of the water provides a moment of deep reflection. Watching the sky and the clouds reflected in a still pool, or seeing a robin taking a joyful splash in a bird bath connects you to the life-giving element of the earth. Water brings a dynamic, moving energy to the static plants. It invites wildlife, creating a hub of activity that is endlessly fascinating to watch. If you feel incredibly stressed, stand by your water feature and match your breathing to the rhythm of the ripples. Let the continuous flow of the water remind you that emotions and stressful thoughts are also temporary. They flow in, and they will eventually flow out, just like water moving over smooth stones. One of the most rewarding parts of a mindful garden walk is realizing that you are never actually walking alone. Your garden is a bustling metropolis for wildlife. If you walk slowly and look closely, you will see an incredible drama unfolding everywhere. You might spot a garden spider intricately weaving a magnificent web covered in dewdrops. You might see a toad hiding under a broadleaf, waiting patiently for a meal. You might catch a glimpse of a hummingbird darting fiercely to protect its favorite nectar source. Taking the time to observe these creatures fosters a deep sense of empathy and connection. It reminds you that your garden is a shared habitat. You are the steward of a tiny piece of the earth that supports hundreds of other lives. This realization brings a profound sense of purpose and joy. It shifts your focus away from your own internal worries and out into the fascinating, complex web of life that surrounds you. Every spider, every beetle, and every bird is a tiny miracle of survival. Witnessing them in their natural state is a privilege that provides endless wonder and naturally lowers the volume of human anxieties. The final, and perhaps most important secret to the healing power of the garden walk is consistency. To truly reap the massive benefits we have talked about today, you need to turn this walk into a non-negotiable daily ritual. It does not have to be long. Even just 5 or 10 minutes every single day is enough to permanently alter your baseline stress levels. The magic happens when your brain begins to associate that specific physical space with safety, rest, and observation. Over time, simply putting your hand on the garden gate will trigger an automatic relaxation response in your body. It becomes an anchor in your day. When life feels chaotic, overwhelming, and out of control, you know that your garden is waiting for you. It is a place where the rules of the frantic modern world do not apply. By walking the same paths, checking on the same plants, and breathing the same soil air every day, you build a profound, anchoring relationship with the earth. You are no longer just a person who owns a garden. You become a person who is deeply rooted in the rhythms of nature, finding daily peace in the quiet sanctuary of your own backyard. So, we have reached the end of our walk. And here is the biggest plot twist of all. You thought you were the one taking care of the garden all these years. But in reality, the garden has been patiently waiting, using its soil, its scents, its sounds, and its beauty to take care of you. We have uncovered how the bacteria in the dirt acts as a natural mood booster, how the fractal shapes of leaves calm your tired brain, and how the invisible chemicals from trees strengthen your immune system. We have completely shattered the myth that a garden is just a chore, revealing it to be a highly intelligent sanctuary designed to heal the human spirit. The next time you step outside, leave your tools behind, take a deep breath, and let the garden work its absolute magic on you. Thank you so much for walking with me today. If this video changed the way you look at your backyard, please hit that subscribe button and give the video a big like to help us spread the word about nature therapy. And before you go, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below and tell me, are you going to try taking your next garden walk completely barefoot? I cannot wait to read your answers.